So let's explore the port near you. Today, we want to reach out because we are that round peg in the square hole. This port has already started changing the world, so join us on that journey. So we've established, and I'll apologize for those who are heard this time after time, but we like driving this point home. We have 4 different business lines: cruise, cargo, recreation, entertainment. Cruise stands today still 80% of our revenue. But one day, it'll be even with where our cargo revenue and business is. And recreation and real estate will serve an important role there. And that doesn't mean we're moving backwards in cruise. Don't interpret that the wrong way. Our mission statement, it guides us each and every day. It's online, it's in our ethics book. Please take an opportunity to read it. This mission statement is what we try to live by here at the port, and we remind ourselves each and every time we make a big decision. We work for you, the people of Brevard County and this port district and well beyond. Our values, which are important. We've just adopted a new ethics policy at the port, and these values underscore everything we do. Public servitude is what we're focused on. We work hard each day making sure that your businesses can be successful in this community. And it's been 12 busy months. We've rolled up our sleeves. A lot of people have had a lot of effort in this, but I wanted to just highlight some of those things this year that we've been able to accomplish. And of course, this is the water side of our new Cruise Terminal 1. The Ivy Construction and BEA team are just absolutely killing this project. They are working 7 days a week. The lights never go off. I think I work late and I leave, and Rocky still has people in on that site. And I'll tell you, it is coming together well. Royal Caribbean toured that terminal just recently, and they were thrilled the day they signed the contract on what they were seeing. Our 2 harbor cranes on the north side, now they still have a lot of patina, just like the guy standing in front of you here today, but they're going to get rejuvenated this year. I think it's time I told Susan that I get a little rejuvenated right along with these 2 cranes, so I get some more life put back in me as well. The Exploration Tower. This shot by Mike Ballard is an amazing view of the Exploration Tower, and if you haven't had a chance to get through it yet, please do. A popular attraction now in Brevard, a taste of Brevard. It wasn't meant to be the main event. Our county is the main event. It's meant to introduce you to all the treasures that are here. A great venue for small meetings and functions and weddings. It increases every day, and it will be an anchor to the new Cove development. The boat ramp, an important addition to the port, down next to Jetty Park where CT4 used to be. End of this June, early July, it will become flooded with water with 8 first-class dock facilities that will be able to launch more fishing boats and handle the tournaments that continue to grow in our area. The port is committed to keeping that recreational feature available for all in Brevard County. And of course, the Cove development concept, a very open and transparent process where the community was invited in and you designed what you want the Cove to look for. This August, 1 month or 2 months from today, we'll be bringing back a final selection of developer to our commissioners, and we hope that next year, this time, bulldozers are in the ground and that project is moving ahead full steam. Some of the objectives we outlined last year's State of Port, you'll notice down the left-hand side, each has a check mark. We accomplished all, or at least set into motion, those objectives we set out to do, and some of them quite large in size. But we got to work for the port community, and our commissioners endorsed each and every one. I was told recently there was a meeting at one of the other port districts, and one of the people called one of our staff employees and was quite frustrated because they had a 27-item agenda and nothing got approved that day. Every item went back to staff. So thank you, commissioners, for not making our life that difficult, and thank you for believing in Brevard County. Some of the big highlights, and I'll just hit a couple of them. The AAPA was almost like our Sweet 16 party. It was a coming out, and Port Canaveral was noticed by the world of ports. It's been talked about all over this year in every AAP event and meeting that I go to. I think it was the perfect introduction for the new Port Canaveral. The governor has visited, our widening and deepening has started. We have a WRDA bill passed. Whoever thought that would happen? But a lot of work by a lot of people to make sure, and Congressman Posey and Congressman Micah and Webster and Senator Nelson all pulled out the stops to help us make that a reality. And the Army Corps is going to be taking care of the maintenance. We have 2 new cruise contracts. Now, only a year has gone by, but those 2 have aged me about 7. Thankfully, they're long-term contracts, and we won't need to do it every day. And we have expanded cargo contracts coming that I'll talk about later. But more importantly, a new charter, a new and rejuvenated charter put together by our own community. Our executive team, and many of them are here today: Roger Reese, our CFO, Jim Dubé, who heads up government operations and community liaison, Tim Macy, doing operations and maintenance as well as recreation, Brenda Marsh, HR, Mike Meekins with Cruise, Alberto Cabrera, who heads up the cargo business development. And there are 2 people here today that I'll ask to stand up and single them out just quickly. Craig Langley has joined us and will start in July as our Port General Counsel. And Clyde Mathis, who's here, who comes from Pensacola and has been in New Orleans before. We're reaching another direction for our cargo operations. Welcome aboard, both of you. And of course, our directors are making decisions every day. Carol Noble, environmental director, does an amazing job making sure we are balanced and true to the environment, and stewardship is #1 in everything we do. Rosalind Harvey is getting the word out, and David Purley, well, just look around this port. He is a busy man. Pat Poston is making sure Dave has the money to make things happen. Mark Warner, Mark LaRussa, Shannon Feely, Diana Mims-Reed, everyone working hard and dedicated to make sure that the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted. And it takes way more than that senior staff, really, to make sure things happen. Every day, 24/7, port staff rise early. They build, maintain, purchase, sell, market. They're out here doing what they do best to make sure that the entire team has each other's back. And I'm thrilled to introduce some of those people today that rarely get some credit. Brian and the fleet team make sure that our vehicles are sparkling and running and out there on the street, and you don't get out around this port without their efforts. Our facilities and landscaping, now let's admit it today, this is one good-looking group of guys here. I know what you're thinking, but you can't have them. They're working for the port. They're out here every day making sure the air's on and the lights are working, and we appreciate their dedication and service to this port. They know what it takes to make things work. The Jetty Park team with Brian Blanchard, and Tim works with them as well. The Jetty Park team with Sandy and Sarah over at the tower are making sure that true Southern hospitality is what you get when you come to Port Canaveral. These people get it when it comes to welcoming people into this port. And of course, the infamous Bobby G. You can't go to a cruise conference without somebody saying, is Bobby G still at Port Canaveral? And he's out there again after a little hiatus. And David Poston as well, introducing this port, working hand in hand with the TDC to make sure that people know about Port Canaveral. Mike Meekins and this team have done an amazing job. They never give up. They work hard every day to make sure that those cruise lines are happy. And when I stand in a circle with 3 or 4 cruise executives at the Cruise Miami conference, and they all say, John, we don't even think about you in our conference room because you're getting it done. And that's the highest compliment I think a cruise line can give. Our cruise operation parking team, these are the faces that see people when they come and go from the port, and they too are part of our hospitality program. And of course, the line handlers, George in operations and crews and the cranes, David standing up on top of the crane as the harbor master looking over his domain of the harbor. Our pilots working with Cody, our line handlers, these are the men and women that make this place happen day in and day out. I'll tell you, I'm not getting up at 3:30 to tie up a ship. Finance and accounting, making sure that, talk about T's being crossed and I's being dotted, and accountability with public funds. These guys guard those funds with their life. And engineering and infrastructure, just really getting things done out here, working hand in hand with purchasing to make sure all the rules and regulations are followed. And not pictured, but just as important, our police and our firemen, our HR department are all key. Many people, our pilots, the CBP, the Coast Guard, the ship's agent. This is not a sole event out here. Tugs, logistics suppliers, stevedores, the ILA, parking attendants, line handlers, fire, police, the people bunkering and fueling the ships, cities working around us to support and be hospitable to these guests, hotels, restaurants, transportation workers from buses to taxis to the airlines. This is a team effort. And in the past year, we've seen some developments in our cruise. Victory continues to set new records. If you haven't been down there on Victory, please do. It's a wonderful experience. Our cruise master plan is almost ready, and we wanted to work on it first as we go into master planning this fall. CT1 completes this November, and heroic feat, 10 months under construction. Unbelievable that building. I look Rocky in the eye every time I see him, and if I don't see panic, I'm still okay. New 10-year Royal Caribbean contract with 2 5-year options, and the Explorer of the Seas set sail this November. A 3-year contract with NCL and a new NCL home port coming in this November, the Spirit. New Carnival ships, the Sunshine and the Liberty, and we keep challenging and poking at Carnival to say it's time for number 4. So we're confident over the next couple years they can up the ante again. And of course, Disney, we've seen twice this year in the spring, and we'll see it again in the fall, 3 home port ships. Yes, we've had a magical spring and a wonderful fall. Carl and Anthony, please bring all 4 at once. It's time to even reach higher, though. Somehow, that's that little bit crazy, and we're never satisfied. So we're going to reach out to Holland America and Celebrity and Princess and Cunard and Regent. We've been talking to each of them. Next Monday afternoon, I get on a plane and head out to Seattle to talk to 2 of these lines and hope to bring one home. Attracting European brands. Bobby and Mike have been to Germany. They're talking to cruise lines headquartered out of Britain. We know we can offer these people value. We know Brevard County will be a great home for them. So we're optimistic. It's a lot of work, but we're going to continue. CT3 needs to be our next major initiative. In August, we'll begin to talk about its design. And commissioners, relax, just the design, not construction yet. But building to number 1 is not the faint of heart. We need to continue to also earn this business. It's not enough just to bring it in. We need to continue to be good stewards and to give them customer service day in and day out. And of course, it's not only our goal to be the biggest cruise port in the world, we really want to be the best. And we believe that by providing the best service is what will get us to being number 1 in size. A port of call is a destination. People are setting sail from New York and Baltimore. They're tired of hassling with the airlines, so they want to get on a ship close to home. And so we're continuing to try to create great options, experiences for those guests coming from these places, New York, Baltimore, transitional ships from Europe, together with our community. And this is an essential together. Those in our tourism industry, the cities, the county, the TDC, we really need to focus on this new audience that's cruising today. They don't want the same old thing. They have changing taste, and we need to meet that as a community. We believe we can turn into a world-class destination that is both unique and natural. Water parks, beach parks, ecotourism, and of course, Mayor, we love the view of the new 520. Let us know how we can help you make that happen. Cruise enhancements for 2015 will also include rental cars here on site for pickup and drop-off, high reaches, and this doesn't sound like an exciting thing, but to the cruise lines it is. They want to maintain those ships and keep them maintained on the docks. Enhanced co-marketing to fill the ships. It's one thing to bring them in, we want to keep them filled, so we're out there day in and day out to make sure that happens in a partnership role. Automated parking, cruise line partnerships where parking can be sold ahead, improved before and after options tied to Central Florida, and of course our own beaches here in Brevard County, and start of port luxury hotel brands. If we're going to bring in the luxury ships, those customers want luxury hotels to go with them. And cargo this year got a heavy lift. Now you can choose which side is having the bigger influence here. I think it's both. We've got the twins on the left, we have the triplets on the right. Shannon is no longer a cargo orphan. Last year she stood there as one, and this year she has Alberto and George and Clyde by her side. So today our cargo department itself is doing the heavy lift so that those cranes can do the heavy lift on the north side. They said it wouldn't be done, but these people didn't believe them. Existing cargo tenants matter as well, and I learned this when I was about 22 and working for someone, and I was out generating new business, new clients, and the man I was working for said, "So how much time do you spend this week with our existing clients?" And I said, "Well, none, I'm bringing in new clients." He said, "Go back to the existing ones. It takes 10 times the effort to bring in a new one than to work with the existing ones." So we're pledging today to continue working with our existing clients to make your businesses successful. And we've had some of those successes already this year. Morton Salt, when I first took over, was saying they were going to leave Port Canaveral. 20 years here in the port, 40 jobs, and they were going to leave to go to a different port. So we got busy, and Shannon got really determined. They were her cargo customer. At the end of the day, they signed a 10-year lease extension. They took additional 2 acres, and they are going to keep those 40 jobs here, invest $5 million into this port, and add 10 more to it. Morton Salt, we thank you. Hanson Materials, this fall is going to invest $8 million into an export facility, and they are going to start the long talked about Marine Highway. They are going to move slag material to Brooklyn, to Baltimore, to North Carolina, and Port Everglades. And as soon as we can lay some track across that river, product will be going into the hitherland, into the port districts or city districts, and they can expand business even further. ASI is bringing in paper and lumber again, working with fruit customers. It goes on and on. Martin Marietta we're working with new conveyors on the dock that CT1 has impacted to make sure that those customers too can expand. And of course, Seaport Canaveral, we're always looking for deeper berthing. Part of our widening and deepening project is about bringing in bigger tankers so they can unload. And we've had a year of liquid gold and ferrous metals. And we're not in the prospector days here, but Seaport Canaveral has recently installed fuel lines at CT6. They're looking to do so at CT1. Oil is an essential commodity for these cruise ships. It is 23% of their operating cost. So affordable fuel delivered to these ships is essential. And we're talking with metal traders now about scrap export from Central Florida to Eastern Europe, and we hope to welcome this new customer this summer. Project Pelican, containers on the port are now real. Next Monday, we'll have a major announcement and contract signing for a new tenant here in Port Canaveral, a world-class container terminal operator. Now, they said it couldn't be done, so either these people are as crazy as we are, or it can be done. They're signing a 20-year lease. Now, we've had a few little tweaks. Our commissioners approved that at the last meeting, and we're so excited about this contract. We're going to bring it back to them to approve a second time this Wednesday. This will create 500 jobs in Port Canaveral over the next several years. It'll start off with 50 to 80 early 2014. This company is going to invest $40 million of their own money, and the initial pro forma on the minimum guarantees in the contract are $380 million of cash flow to the port in rent, wharfage, and throughputs over that 20-year contract. We are excited, needless to say. Project Pelican, June 23rd, 1 week from today, in this very space, there'll be a signing ceremony. Coming up next, why rest on our laurels? Auto import and distribution. Central Florida has one of the biggest car rental markets in the world, and that takes logistics to support. Florida is moving to 20 million. This year, we are due to pass New York and move from number 4 to number 3 in size of states. This state is growing, and it's spread out and needs automobiles. Other ports are running out of space on their docks, so we are working hard. Alberto is juggling 6 or 7 different people currently talking about import and export of vehicles in and out of Port Canaveral, and we're very confident this can become a strong market here. Fruit and produce, most of what we eat goes all the way up to Philadelphia and into Wilmington and New Jersey and comes back down on trucks. So it's passing us, and I'm not really great at geography, but it's down here and it's going up there and it's coming back down here, and that makes no sense at all. So we're reaching out to those companies up there, Flagler Logistics, ASI, who already has refrigerated warehouses, and we're saying we need to change this model. Truck bodies and exports. We've talked to manufacturers that say we need to start manufacturing here in Brevard. They'll ship us the chassis. We put the truck bodies on here, and then we put those into ro-ro ships and out of this port. So this is where several parts of our economy can come together, and we can get people back working again. And of course, as Central Florida and our highways and our streets grow, steel imports will be essential to be able to feed into those areas. Lumber and paper and other products as well. And as construction roars back, tile, granite, building materials, appliances, we want to grab our fair share of each of those. Real estate is taking shape, and last year we talked about the new definition of space on the Space Coast, warehouses and distribution centers. Port property is filling up, so our next challenge is looking beyond our borders and going out and partnering with the private community, finding places to move product to so it comes through the port, moves out quick, and gets inland. And this is where the opportunity is for Cocoa and Titusville and Port St. John. We're optimistic as to what that's going to look like in the coming years. Commercial fishing, a historic and founding purpose of the port, remains alive as well. Our charter makes a long-term commitment to these legacy businesses, and you need to as well. Come buy fresh seafood at the port. You won't regret it. We have 6 marine facilities. These marinas and high and dry facilities give options to literally thousands of boaters coming in and out of the port each and every week. And everything you want is right here. And of course, as we create better paying jobs, we'll also have more people buying boats again. Environmental stewardship, it's on one of the top of the list of everything we do. Start each day with doing no harm. This is one of the cleanest harbors in the world. So while we struggle in our lagoons, this harbor gets awards for its fresh, clean water, and we give our hats off to our engineers and Carroll Noble and Environmental Program for keeping us that way. Our tenants as well cooperate continuously in making sure that it stays that way. It's commitment to safe and responsible growth. So as we reach across the rivers with rail and widen our roads, we know we can do so environmentally safe. We don't just work here, we live here. We treasure this environment as well. And we also commit to work with Ernie and the Brevard County group that is working on the harbor, and we'd like to offer our help and services to do everything we can so that the Banana River Lagoon and the Indian River Lagoon get all the attention it needs. And Representative, we thank you for the initial funding that you've given for that effort. Protecting species who call this place home is very important to this port's future. New recreation concepts, and none of these are a done deal, they're just being talked about, but we're working with Bob Bauger and the folks in Cocoa Beach and Cape Canaveral for a bike trail coming across the causeway, ecotourism, fixing up the look of the causeway and the entrance as the construction sets underway, an aquarium project with the Brevard Zoo as a possibility, enhanced jetty park features and options, an ecotourism spot back on the Banana River. First, a ferry moving people from CT1 down to the new boat ramp and jetty park so that they can get to the beach easily. And then we want to expand that and one day look at the potential of a gondola that's both fun and transportation together. And of course, better connections to Cocoa Beach, maybe ferries down the river and a landing dock so that people can get down to the world-famous Cocoa Beach and Ranjan and have the best experience when they come in on their portacals. Trading will continue. Central Florida Hub, these are just a smattering of the companies that have distribution centers in those three circles, a short distance from us. And we're working and reaching out to make sure that they know they can save money. Drayage cost from Charleston and Georgia will cost $2,000 per truckload. We can get it there for $300 or $400. That kind of savings is going to make a big difference to businesses in Central Florida. And connections and logistics are everything. Inland port connections, utilizing a barge again, hard rail to take the 17 miles in Kennedy Space Center and to put it to work once again, an 11-mile extension into the port. Air freight, we heard Phil Brown in the movie talk about how important that is. The bellies of those planes going out to 69 cities could be filled with fruit and produce in a secondary distribution market coming out of Port Canaveral, and a host of other products because we want it now in today's society. By ship, we'll get it into our warehouses, and by plane, we'll get it into your homes. And then, of course, trucking networks, and our roads are going to get busier. We want you to understand, leaving here today, the logistics model. While space has been a $6 billion industry in this region, and we've lived off of it a long time, we're growing into aerospace, and it's an $8 billion industry. Tourism is $89 billion, but import and export and logistics is a $166 billion industry in Florida. We can grab just that little market share and double and triple our business, and that's why we're focused on it. Logistics is a huge business and industry, and most of us aren't even aware of it. Most of the clothes on our back, most of the products that are in our stores are being imported into Florida, and many of them are coming in other locations. Logistics jobs, we see 5,000 minimum within the next 5 years, 10,000 in 10 years, and that number, if we work hand in hand together and lure businesses here with our EDC and our political leaders in the area, we can get that number to an easy 15,000. That's only 10% of what the state of Florida has set as an objective in logistics jobs in Florida. I think it's very doable. Titusville, Cocoa, Port St. John can be major hubs linked by 528, 407, and I-95. Within 6 hours of this region is a population base of 61 million people. The Southeast is growing, and we need to connect to it. So why should we do this? Why bother? Why not be that little port that could again? Well, to me, this is deplorable in a community. 7% of our population remains unemployed, and that number sometimes dips a little below 7. But that's 19,875 men and women that don't have jobs. These numbers don't include the long-term unemployed, those who have just given up or have accepted part-time jobs and they come off of the rolls in the statistic. Maybe they're working 2 or 3 part-time jobs to make ends meet. That number, the real number, is probably closer to 15% according to economists. 48,000 of our neighbors and our friends that are struggling to make a living. That's motivating. That's a reason why we need to work harder. 46% of all laid-off workers are out of work 6 months or more, and they come off of the statistics completely off. So they're not even in those figures above. Tens of thousands of college students are coming out of colleges and universities for their piece of the American dream, and that American dream is not there for them. What they have is educational debt and no way to pay it off. So we owe our community a debt. We owe them the opportunity to prosper, to work for themselves, a hand up instead of a handout, a job, the dignity of work. And we are committed. That's what drives us out of bed every morning and out into the street and into an airplane seat to make Port Canaveral all it can be. This port is already part of the solution. CT1 is over 350 full-time equivalent of jobs, and that leads to 2,500 jobs in the new cruise businesses coming into CT1. Those are serious jobs. The container terminal, fewer construction jobs because of the nature of work, about 50 average the duration of the project, but that leads to 500 on-site jobs. And those are livable wage. Put your family into a home, send your kids to college jobs. We're talking salaries in the container and logistics industry that are $65,000 through $150,000, where people can stand on their own feet and earn a good living. The Cove development, another 250 jobs as it goes into development in the next year, will lead to over 1,000 retail and restaurant jobs in the Cove, and that is probably a very mild estimate when it fully gets built out. And why are we seeking auto facilities? Because that will lead to another 250 jobs and 800 to 1,000 in one facility. We think 2 or 3 could eventually be out there. This port is putting people back to work. The channel deeper, 55 feet, it's unique. We have an advantage. We have a soft bottom, no bridges, and it can be a strong ROI. Our commissioners have approved the study and the Section 204. It is underway. Our goal is in 3 to 4 years' time, we'll have the approvals from the Army Corps under a Section 204, and we'll be digging deeper again. Our foreign trade zone helps a lot of businesses, and it's a strong advantage not just here at the port, but at Melbourne Airport and Tyco and in Cocoa. If you want to find out about import-export, the advantages of foreign trade zone, call our business development office. It will help your business if you're in import-export. And responsibility of growth is upon us. We envision a port with this dynamic import-export role in the southeast U.S., a deep ship-capable port. Growth is inevitable in this region. We'll have some discussion over the next year or two. Growth and building and connecting is difficult, but it's quite doable. And here's the result. 17,000 plus jobs come out of the port. If these plans are implemented as we plan, over 50,000 jobs will come out of this port. The net economic impact that we have today of $3.5 billion in the next 10 years can grow to $20 billion of net economic impact. That's worth getting up in the morning for. There's challenges. Connecting by rail, some land reclamation of submerged lands, an EUL, an enhanced use lease with the Air Force. We're working with NASA day in and day out on the rail right-of-way route, expanding our boundaries and going into inland ports. And it's not easy. No one told us it would be, but we're motivated and committed to do it responsibly and for the people in Brevard County. The Barrier Island presents challenges, and I'll repeat today what I repeated at a congressional hearing that I was asked to come to with Congressman Posey and Congressman Micah, and that's on the freight rail through NASA. Now, the challenge to the people in Brevard County is if we can put a man on the moon, if we can put a rover onto Mars, if we can dream of putting men on Mars, surely we can connect 11 miles of rail with 1820s technology. We know it's doable. 528 is being talked about now, potentially widening out to 8 lanes from Orlando to I-95, 6 lanes over to the port. We're reaching, our FDOT is working hard and planning ahead like they like to do. This is not an FDOT that's standing by. They're planning ahead, and we applaud them in those efforts, working with our TPO here in Brevard County and officials out of Orange and Osceola County. All Aboard Florida presents opportunities to connect to the port, but only if it gets through this first phase. And maglev and light gauge passenger services are also being studied, so as 528 gets widened, these possibilities can be allowed for. And pipeline connections for the oil and the fuels and the jet fuel to the airport are becoming more and more of an economic reality. Connections equal opportunities, equal jobs, and that is a successful community. Port Canaveral 2025. I'm not going to present a master plan to you here today. You're going to help us create that. So just like we did with the Cove master planning, we're going to invite you into a series of workshops this fall with community leaders, business leaders, people involved in logistics, the state, the county, and we want to create a new 10-year, 20-year, and 30-year master plan. We want everyone engaged in that process. This fall will begin. There'll be many choices, hard choices, but we need to do them for our children and our grandchildren. In 1951, those pioneers thought ahead to build in years of growth of this port, which we're almost running out of. Looking ahead, a year from now, CT1 will be open, home port ships will be calling, and port of calls as well. CT3 design will be well underway. We're hoping new cruise line commitments continue to come in place, because why stop those fun negotiations with cruise lines? Cove developer due diligence complete, with construction beginning and a clear direction for our Cove ahead. Truly a unique experience. This is not going to be a cookie-cutter shopping center. This is going to be unique to Cape Canaveral, Cocoa Beach region, and Port Canaveral. Working on connections, intermodal, we're working with Flagler on first warehouses by the Tyco Airport and along the railroad. We're doing inland connections to get into OIA, Orlando, Lakeland, Ocala, and yes, Jacksonville and Miami. We're reaching up and down as well. Then EIS will go underway for the right-of-ways and funding models delivered so we can connect to FEC. We're going to be working with the Surface Transportation Board. Jim and I met with them last week, and they're the right partner to get us through the rail approvals process. We'll have expanded cargo. You're going to get a new vocabulary in Brevard County. Reach stackers, top reaches, picks, RTGs, lots of new fun toys up on the north end as we sit on the girls' dock and look at over from Rusty's and Milliken's and Baja. That will be exciting on the north side. And we're working with the Air Force on enhanced use lease to take over unused land on the Air Force, and we're optimistic by this time next year we could potentially reach a conclusion to lease more land from the Air Force on the Middle Basin. And then we're going to look, what's pictured down to the right is a multi-level import-export car facility in Barcelona, one of the largest car logistics areas. We're modeling and benchmarking off of our leaders. Just like we did with Georgia on containers, we're looking to what works. And since land is scarce, going up is one of our options. Dynamic team efforts. Again, Flagler and the city of Titusville on joint efforts. Laura and Shannon were out in Chicago luring logistics customers here just this past week at a convention. GOA and CPA will continue looking at airlift because we need that airlift as we move from 4 million passengers to 8 million, and then the bellies of those planes can be filled with cargo, and it can be a true win-win project. working with each of the area chambers and the 8 Central Florida counties, and of course our own lead cities here in Brevard. We're seeking strong growth in cruise. 4 million will move to 5 million by as soon as 2016. It's under contract already. And that 6 million moves, or then it moves to 6 million by 2017 and 2018. That's in the minimum contracts already. And we anticipate and we're confident we can reach at least that 8 million in the next 10 years. That moves our cruise business from its current $55 million model to 110 in cruise alone. Cargo will be exponential. It will move 4 million tons this year. It'll double in tonnage and triple in revenue in the next 3 years alone, and then we'll take off to rival cruise to be a $100 million business in Port Canaveral. That's 20 times its current size today over the next 10 years. It's doable. We plan to achieve it. $10 billion out of that cargo business will be the economic impact for the region. 250 million salaries, 20 billion in economic, maintaining our position as the #1 cruise port in the world, and those cargo statistics can get us to the top 2 in Florida in cargo. We have the land, we have the resources, we have the energy to reach out and achieve big things. And also becoming a major beach tourist destination rivaling the Caribbean. We know people are going to want to come to Cocoa Beach, Cape Canaveral, and Port Canaveral. Your finances are strong. It doesn't just happen. The finance team, and I won't go through all these numbers and bore you with them today, but basically the bottom line is we're going to generate cash flow. We are going to have money to reinvest in ourselves, to match with those grants the governor has committed to funding throughout Florida. We will be able to grow our revenue because we can invest in ourselves and build the facilities to make that happen. So we sit here today with that 60-year tradition. We've got 5 outstanding commissioners and an energized staff, very solid balance sheet and cash flows, strong state of Florida commitment to our ports. We've got regional population and tourism growth coming all over Florida. We've got the 4 biggest brands in cruise already sailing out of here. We've got leading international cargo companies coming and still knocking at the door. We've got a 3-mile channel going right now to 46 feet of depth. We've got a continued $1 billion capital program to invest in this port. We've got a supportive and hardworking community that is here today. And all of this in East Central Florida on the coast. That's your Port Canaveral. So in a moment, I'll give you some directions for those that are going to go on the bus tour. And if you haven't signed up, a lot of our staff is going to go downstairs. But what is originally a tradition at the port, and I want to recognize today some of these people that have made this happen. And so we have several port businesses of the year. And if they're here today, I'll ask them to stand up and to take a bow. But in cruise, although it was a hard-fought, negotiated contract, we still love them at the end of it. And CT1 partnership, that is going to be Royal Caribbean. And we're so proud that Morton Salt has decided to keep Cape Canaveral and Port Canaveral its home again. So in cargo this year, Morton Salt is our cargo business of the year. On the recreation side, the Fish Lips renovation underway, and the new Wyland Gallery is what we like to say is the start of the new Cove. So we applaud them for bringing that great artist here. On the real estate side, and you've probably seen the bright colors along 528, Parker Brothers, which is going to be a TV show on one of the networks, bringing Port Canaveral live onto your TV screens every night. This is where technology meets really cool. And then to the men who have not slept in 6 months and will not sleep another 4, we think that deserves honor because we believe they're going to hit that finish line. Ivy Construction for their heroic efforts. So we want to hear your feedback. DearPortCanaveral.com. Hit us on Facebook, Twitter. I don't tweet myself, but it just gets me in trouble, so they don't let me do that kind of stuff. And Tom says I react too quick. And our new website is going to be launched soon. Mark and the IT team and our marketing team have been working hard, so keep your eye on our sites. We're going to have a fresh new look, you know, a little more hip, and I hope easier to find information that's out there, and they're doing an amazing job. And I want to end today by thanking our commissioners for your leadership and your courage, your service, and your commitment. We know we're not an easy task here, coming to you every month with 40 or 50 agenda items, spending a weekend reading and pummeling through those books. But your work is being recognized in bricks and sticks and mortar and jobs. So we thank you. Thank you for tolerating me as your port director. It's a pleasure to work here at Port Canaveral.